You gotta love movies. I mean, they've been around forever, and they show no signs of going away anytime soon. For film is such an expanded medium that will always exist. Now, that doesn't mean what we've been getting for the past decade is any good. Oh, no. Film nowadays is more how you get extra pocket change instead of presenting new ideas to the public. Don't believe me? Look at the list of the sequels and reboots and remakes from the 2000s. It's a pretty damn big list. I mean, god damn it, what's with the business heads? They just said fuck it, stuck their money grabbing dicks out, waved it in our faces, knowing they could get away with it. Knowing that we would be voiceless as consumers and just say, alright, I don't care about this dick in my mouth. I just don't give a shit. I shouldn't question it. And that's fucking bullshit. You might as well just shove that dick of lies up my ass crack, executives, and rip whatever I have left as a creative individual. Because I shouldn't even bother getting up in the morning if my life is the equivalent of some homeless dude's piss can to you. To the people out there that don't know what a piss can's purpose is, it is meant to satisfy someone or relieve them. That's what we do. That is what we do for them. We satisfy them with numbers and money. We are basically statistics on a chart. We are cattle to them. And I don't want to be known as cattle, because that term gets under my skin. And that's why I have this, so I don't rip my goddamn skin out. This helps calm me down. It helps, it's a solution. But it doesn't solve one thing, and that's just one question. When? When did it all go south? When did it all go wrong? And there's only one way to find that out. We have to go back. We have to go back to where it all began. Because that's the easiest solution, I would think, right? So, yeah, alright, let's go back to where film became popular. Up to the modern day. Let's go through that whole huge fucking timeline. But here's the problem. If we do such a thing, film is such a huge medium that we're just never gonna get through it. It's impossible. It's like virtually impossible. I would have to be doing these types of videos for the next 40 years, maybe 50. And you know what? I'm just getting off track. Point is, I need to start somewhere where I'm comfortable. Something I already know, kind of. And, it has to be something simple. So let's just start with science fiction, because as you can see, I'm a big fan of it. So where did it all begin? Well, I actually think I got the answer to that right here, so hold on one second. In the film collectively known as Metropolis. Now you're probably asking yourselves out there, what's so special about this hunk of junk? Well, if I were to tell you that Metropolis is possibly one of the great grandfathers of science fiction, would you believe me? Before any of you say yes, let me finally introduce myself, so we can get stranger danger out of the way. My name is Mad Vad, and I'm a fan just like you. Well, maybe not like you if you're the type of crazy fan that gouges people's eyes out and burn them at stakes for simple differences. Or if you're the type of fan to boycott events that serve no real purpose other than to prove to the public eye that you're a jackass. Or if you're the type of fan to type horrendous death threats on videos that make even Oscar the Grouch blush in embarrassment. But don't worry, if you guys are like that out there, good for you. Thank you for making such a healthy contribution to our society. Our government is very proud of your accomplishments. Now, before I start a never-ending hate race against me, let's just continue what we were talking about beforehand. Let's just talk about Metropolis, okay? So, before you can even talk about Metropolis, you need to know what science fiction is. So what is science fiction? Well, science fiction is a genre that mainly deals with imaginative concepts on scientific, futuristic, or even apocalyptic problems. It initially starred in the writings of great authors such as Jonathan Swift, Mary Shelley, Jules Verne, and even most recognizably H.G. Wells. Then it started becoming more prominent in the cinemas in the early 1900s, with some pieces such as the film A Trip to the Moon by the famous director Georges Méliès. And with that movie in particular, it became clearly presented that the term science fiction was an idea that can be presented on screen. To go on record, A Trip to the Moon was the first film to start the sci-fi trend and the first of its kind, inventing new camera tricks to present the now modern-day idea of space travel. However, Metropolis can also be considered the first of its kind. No one had ever made the scope of a film like Metropolis before, especially in the 1920s. So what am I waiting for? Why not just actually talk about Metropolis, like the film in general? Well, where you see guys, Metropolis has a very unfortunate history. A German filmmaker known as Fritz Lang made the film with his wife, Thea von Harbou. While he directed and produced the project, she was the one that was the screenplay writer for it, as well as the one who wrote the book the film is based on. Now, if you didn't know Metropolis was based on a book of the same name, don't worry, it's okay. No one remembers the book at all. Everyone has slowly gone past the idea of reading nowadays, so you're all in the clear. Anyways, both him and his wife then got together and decided they were going to make this vision happen on screen. So, they drew inspiration from Shelley's and H.G. Wells' novels to write the screenplay. Then they got together to fund the film on their own, which was quite a responsibility, and even drove people insane to get this film made. So did all this work out in the end for these two? Yes, because what resulted was a pioneering piece, being one of the first feature-length films ever made. And when I mean first feature films, I mean it, because back then, films ran a runtime around 10 to maybe 40 minutes. Let's say 40, because, yeah, 40. But here comes Metropolis, big bad Metropolis, with a massive runtime of 153 minutes. Now, to the people that don't know basic math, that is almost the equivalent of 2 hours and 35 minutes. Like, holy shit, that was a long movie, especially for back then. Now, for today's standards, that's an average matinee at any movie theater for us. But back then, no one had ever experienced a 2-hour flick before. That's like the equivalent of someone from the 40s seeing a nuclear bomb go off in front of their face for the first time. It's too awe-inspiring, too demented of a scenario. Okay, true enough, I might be exaggerating a little bit comparing this to a nuclear bomb. But let me paint a more realistic picture for you all then. Back then, they didn't have the luxury of something called sound or dialogue in their films. So, Metropolis here was, and always will be, a silent film. Yeah. Now that paints a picture for you, because it makes me wonder, and probably you the same, what were their reactions to this film's first screening in Germany? Because I truly wonder. Well, never mind that demented thought, because in honest truth, we can never see the exact film that came out in 1927, because ever since it being released here into America, it's been censored, and there's a dozen different copies of the film now scattered across the globe. The film lost most of its content, sadly, and that only leaves this copy to talk about. After many years of reconstruction, many purists of the film were actually able to put most of the movie back together. However, there are still 20 minutes missing from the original runtime, but that doesn't really matter in my case. What really matters in my point of view is what I had to go through to get this movie for you guys.
Well, look who decided to come crawling back to me. You got some nerve, boy.
It's not like that this time. I need to have this. Trust me. Believe me.
Would you do me
I'll do
a
it.
solid?
Of course.
Well, alright then. Only because you seem so desperate. But only a fool would wish for something like this.
I'll see myself out.
Not so fast. I want my favor now.
Oh, now. Alright, what do you want?
Strip.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You heard me. Strip for me, fat boy. Come on, you said anything. Keep your end of the bargain, boy.
Alright, so after that little history lesson, what is Metropolis' story? Like, what is really the film about? Well, okay guys, fair enough. I've dragged on long enough. So, let's actually dive in. So, spoilers! The film starts with shots of a beautifully lit city of towers. We are shown the dark secrets and the luxuries of this said city. This city is the city of Metropolis, and in the center of it lies the famous Tower of Babel, owned by the wealthy industrialist Joe Fredersen. He single-handedly runs the entire city's power with his ever-growing enforcement of labor workers. These workers are in fact the true heart and blood of Fredersen's success, and yet they are still treated poorly and like cattle. This whole setup sparks the initial ideas of Metropolis: revolution and equality. Very good messages, but maybe not appropriate for the general audiences in that time era. Let's move on. So the plot doesn't start kicking until we meet Freder, the son of Fredersen. Freder is spoiled by riches and doesn't think for a second about anyone else's troubles. However, that all changes when he sees the young beautiful labor girl Maria. He becomes infatuated, and for the first time ever, it seems he leaves the comforts of his life to find this girl in the heart of Metropolis. There, in the labor conditions of the poor workers, does Freder finally realize the suffering that the workers have been enduring all this time. He then starts having some weird-ass visions, like the type of visions that the Joker would have on LSD type of weird. One in particular represents the comparison between Fredersen and the pharaohs of Egypt, and let me just tell you this, it was absolutely fucking weird. Okay? Where were we? Okay, yeah. After seeing these non-scarring segments, Freder returns to his father and confronts him about the conditions of the workers. He merely brushes his son off and even fires his assistant Grot to make an example in front of him. He then sends Grot to work in the labor force. Grot's response is to try to commit suicide. Luckily for him, Freder saves his life. He then decides to disguise himself as a worker behind his father's back. This works, and Freder continues his quest to find Maria. However, unknowingly, Fredersen has sent a man known only as the Tall Man to keep watch of his son. This guy is very unimportant to the story, and just so I don't have to talk about this later, he is the one that finds out about Freder's goals and exposes them to his father. But enough about that goofball. Back to what I was saying. So Freder ends up locating Maria, which turns out to be a central figure of hope for the workers. She tells them stories of a chosen one that will one day arrive to be a mediator between the rich and the poor. Freder becomes convinced that he is this said mediator. While that is going on, we are finally introduced to my favorite character of the film, as well as the antagonist, Twang. Twang is a mad inventor that was cheated out of his happiness by Fredersen when he took the love of his life away from him and had a child with her, which resulted with her dying, giving birth to Freder. So in retaliation to Fredersen, when giving orders to eliminate the resistance in the mines, Twang creates the classic woman robot that everyone knows. She is designed to take the place of Maria and destroy Metropolis by sparking a violent rebellion. Somewhere in all of this chaos, Freder starts seeing strange fucking visions again. Like this motherfucking thing. Fuck that shit. Freder's completely fucked up in the head if he sees stuff like that. Jeez. I'm gonna try to get through this. Ignoring my outbursts, all these new visions show death is in the future of Metropolis, and Freder ends up in the middle of this dangerous rebellion. Twang ends up kidnapping Maria and puts the robot in her place, and from then on, the movie becomes about this massive rebellion against the rich. The workers destroy the catacombs and even almost drown a bunch of their own children, but Luckily for them, thanks to Freder and the freed Maria, they all survive. The workers end up realizing that they have been tricked and chase down the robot Maria and burn her at a stake like the witch she is. And now with Rotwang's plans foiled, all he now wants is Maria, who he envisions as his deceased love. So in the climax, Freder ends up fighting Rotwang on a cathedral and throws Rotwang to his demise. Fredersen meanwhile has come down from his tower for the first time in a long time to see the carnage of his greed. The workers and Fredersen begin to have a huge stare down filled with mixed emotions. But Freder comes in to help the two groups realize their need for one another and that they are all equal as people, finally showing the message of the film that being the head and the hand must work together, but the key to success is heart. With that being stated, the film finally fades to black and ends. Phew! That was a mouthful. So after all that, let's start asking the questions. What makes this movie so iconic? Well, easy. The visuals. This film was one of the first pieces to ever create huge sets and use the art of illusion through painted works. It was all big and grand. One can clearly see how Metropolis influenced so many modern day films. Another thing that is actually quite unique to this film is the story. True, we have seen this type of plot told so many times in many ways over the past decades, but here it has so much heart and spirit in its messages that it makes it feel fresh and new, despite the fact the movie being almost 9 years old and produced in a country that would later become Nazi Germany. And the last thing I could truly say is the music score is fantastic, beautiful, intense, and even mysterious. Every movie has to have a good score or it can flop hard. And for Metropolis, if it didn't have the score it did, it might have been almost deemed unwatchable. So, my verdict on Metropolis is that the film is an artistic masterpiece of cinema, visual-wise and even story-wise. Is it made for everyone? No. But if you are truly interested in the art of cinema or even good storytelling, I recommend you check it out. Although it may be a silent picture, the messages and the impact it has had have been loud and clear ever since it touched our screens and even some people's hearts on January 10th, 1927. Okay, now that we've finally gone over the film, guys, like entirely, I think there's only one thing that presents itself to us. What was exactly so bad, so weird, so terrifying that it was censored? What was in the last 20 minutes of this film? Oh, what the hell is going on?
I am free!
Holy crap, it's the robot!
My name is not Robot. It is Maria, and I am an enchantress. You have freed me from my prison.
What the fuck are you even talking about?
I was sealed into the film piece before you since its conception in 1927, so I couldn't unleash chaos upon the governments of the world.
That seems very hard to believe. Why just seal you into a film? Why not destroy you and make sure you can never come back?
Because it was the perfect idea at the time. I was a very malevolent being, but Lane tricked and trapped me in the fabric of his film. And when I almost escaped a group of radicals, burned the original film, destroying my only exit. But not anymore. Thank you, sloppy, unhealthy human. You have broken my link to the film.
Like hell I did.
Enough of this. You shall be my vessel as I bring down the working economics of this pitiful world. And you can only blame yourself. Tell me, human, why do you even bother trying to do what you do? Nobody cares for you. You are just a nobody to them.
That may be true. They may not care for me, and they may not want me here. But here's the fact, you tin bitch.
represent them. We are stronger together than you can possibly imagine.
And what might you be together?
We are a fucking voice.
Please don't. If you do this to me, I will never live again.
Your time has passed. You belong in the past, while I belong in the future. And the future must take its course, bitch. But there's always shitty reboots, so you're okay.
How would you know, primates?
You know how I would know that, machine? Because I'm Mad Vad. And this is my reboot. Now burn, you witch.